My name is Annette Carlson. This is my educational associate, Venus. I'm a member of the California Conservation Corps' Watershed Stewards Program in partnership with AmeriCorps. And today I'd like to share with you one of my favorite activities called Fred the Fish. First, I'd like to go over the importance of water before we get to our fun activity. So without water, life would be impossible, right? So we use water every day in many ways, from drinking water to bathing, recreation, farming, and manufacturing. We depend on a continuous supply of clean water, yet each time we use it, we change it, sometimes by polluting it. And salmon need copious amounts of clean, fresh, running water and a healthy riparian zone to stabilize, provide food, shade, and filter materials as they travel towards the stream. So I used a couple big words there. Does anyone know what a riparian zone is? Well, a riparian zone is the boundary between the stream and the forest, which is very important for fish habitat. Okay, so without further ado, let's work through Fred the Fish's journey from his home protected nature preserve in the headwaters of the watershed all the way to the ocean. What is a headwater, you might ask? Well, the headwaters of a stream is where water collects and starts forming a creek or a stream. And this is where our story begins. So imagine Fred the Fish. He has grown up in a protected stream in the headwaters nature preserve. Imagine the river is meandering through a protected wilderness area. The water is clean, cool, and flowing. There are trees on the banks that provide shade and keep the water cool during the hot summer months. There are deep pools to hide in and many different insects to make a good meal. Fred has lived at this stretch of the river all his life, but now he's grown bigger, as I said, and is kind of feeling a little cramped in the stream. So Fred is going to start his adventure downstream towards the ocean. So, okay, we're going to move from the headwaters. We're going to swim downstream, and our first stop is just where the creek that he's been living in meets the other creeks and becomes the main stem of his river system. So we've come to a farm, and the farmer has freshly plowed his field, but part of his field has taken away some of the riparian zone along the creek side. So now sediment is no longer being stabilized against the bank and is sloughing into the creek. So we're going to put some soil in Fred's jar here to symbolize the extra sediment from the bank going into the river. So I don't know if you can see this, but now the water is a little bit more cloudy. How do you think Fred's doing? Do you think Fred's okay? I mean, he's, less than ideal, but he's not doing horrible yet. So, all right. So now we continue downstream, and we're going along, and he comes to this housing development. And everyone in this housing development wants their lawn to be green and healthy. So what do? They add fertilizer to their lawns to make it nice and green. Well, some of them add too much fertilizer, so the fertilizer gets pushed into the river with the next rain. So we're going to add a little bit of fertilizer to Fred's water. So now there's extra nutrients from the fertilizer in the water. And eventually this causes the river plants to grow fast, but eventually the river can't provide them enough nutrients that they need, so then they slowly start to decay, and their decomposition takes up the oxygen that Fred needs to breathe. So how is Fred doing? He's got a little less oxygen, his water's a little cloudy, subpar, but he's doing okay. Alright, so we keep going downstream, and Fred has now come to the highway bridge that the city uses to transport goods and services across the river. And some of the cars traveling over it have been leaking oil. And then it rains and pushes the oil off of the bridge into the stream. So now, in addition to the nutrients and the lack of oxygen and the sediment, he now has some oil in his environment. Okay, so now he gets past the bridge. But it was wintertime, and the city was using salt to get the ice off of the bridge so that cars could travel safely across the bridge. So they put salt down, but then the salt melted the ice faster, which was what the city wanted. But then as the water from the ice melt went into the creek, it solidified, or it made the water saltier, which is, not so good for freshwater fish yet. He is going to the ocean, which is salty, but it doesn't need to be salty quite yet. So we're gonna add some salt to his water. Okay, how is Fred? He doesn't seem to be doing so good anymore. Remember how clean and cool and beautiful his water was when we first started his journey downstream? So he keeps on swimming down and he gets to a park. Everyone's enjoying their picnics and their lunch in the sun. Maybe not right now due to COVID, but eventually we'll be able to enjoy sunny days and picnic. But the family that was picnicking didn't pick up their trash and didn't put it in the trash can, and so now it's getting blown by the wind into the stream. So now he's got some trash to contend with on his journey down the stream. So this is some trash, some chip wrappers, some candy wrappers, plastic bags, stuff like that. So I'm gonna stir it up a little bit. So how is Fred doing? It's not looking so great, but Fred continues his journey downstream. And he comes to a factory. And the factory has a lot of environmental rules put on them, so they can't pollute the river further. But the company's owners don't abide by those rules. So the companies are, creating their products and they're dumping their wastewater into the river. So this is some soapy water to represent that. And so we're just gonna stir it up some more. This water is not very clean, not very healthy for the fish. So he continues his path downstream and he comes to the city's wastewater treatment plant, where, again, the pollution requirements aren't as strict, so they're slowly seeping more pollution into the river. So we're gonna add some more food dye to represent some wastewater treatment pollution. And we're gonna stir up Fred's water a little bit. Still, it's getting worse, it's not the best. All right, so now, I can't really see Fred that well. How do you think Fred's doing? Not so great, huh? All right, so now Fred has made it to the ocean, but so has all of this water. Do you think that just goes away when it gets to the ocean? No, it doesn't go away. But how can we help Fred in his journey so that the water, when he gets to the ocean, doesn't look like this and it's still clean, crystal clear, and cool? Well, there's a couple of things that you and I can both do. So, first of all, water conservation. So, when you're brushing your teeth, don't brush your teeth and have the tap on unless you're using it. You can save up to 2 gallons a day doing that. So another way to improve water quality is to keep riparian zones intact. So, this farmer might have, needed the extra field space, but he or she could have, kept the field a little bit away from the creek and left the riparian zone intact so that the trees could filter out the sediment and nutrients from his field runoff. So what can you and I do about that? Well, sometimes the community has restoration efforts where we go and we plant trees and shrubs in riparian zones. So you can get your parents involved and go dig up some dirt and plant some plants to help keep the stream clean. Another thing you can do is when you go for a picnic, make sure you pick up all the trash from your picnic. And even if you're going for a walk or on the beach or in the park and you see some trash, pick it up. Even if it's not yours, we all live on the same planet, so it's good to just pick up trash whenever you see it and dispose of it appropriately in a trash can. Thank you for joining Venus and I on this adventure with Fred the Fish.